I want you all to imagine this for a moment. Imagine that the US government decides to completely cut off California financially solely due to the fact that California has dubbed itself a sanctuary for undocumented immigrants. It would suck, right? Well, unfortunately, this is something that is actually happening right now. Resolved. The U.S. government should eliminate H.R. 3003, otherwise referred to as the No Sanctuary for Criminals Act. This act allows the federal government and the Department of Justice to withhold certain funds from states or subdivisions of states that are not in compliance with federal immigration law. We all live in California, obviously, and we, like all other 49 states, receive federal funding. But solely due to the fact that we are a sanctuary state, as stated in the bill, any funds not allocated towards states or subdivisions of states due to the fact that they are not in compliance with subsections A or B will be reallocated to states or subdivisions of states who are in compliance with such subsections. Over the next 5 to 6 minutes, I will express to you the harm that H.R. 3003 has caused, why H.R. 3003 exists, and finally, I will present a possible solution for this problem. So as I previously stated, I will express the harm that H.R. 3003 has caused. According to the although some states have booming economies of their own, they still rely heavily on federal funding, including California. According to the Legislative Analyst's Office, last updated on January 18, 2017, California alone receives about $375.8 billion in federal funding every year, while local governments received over $18 billion in federal funds. A large number of college students rely heavily on financial aid to cover most, if not the whole cost of schooling, as stated on the Federal Student Aid website. The U.S. Department of Education's Office of Federal Student Aid provides more than $120 billion in financial aid to help pay for college or career school each year. If the federal court continues to allow the Justice Department to cut funding for sanctuary states, then students in states like California, Oregon, Colorado, New Mexico, Illinois, Vermont, and Massachusetts will suffer the consequences. Additionally, these cuts could potentially heighten racism within these states. Now that I've expressed the harm that H.R. 3003 has caused, I will move on to discuss why this problem exists. The cause of this issue is a combination of structural and attitudinal. The structural part of this being the current constitutional separation of powers is failing. As stated on PolitiFact by Miriam Valverde on January 18, 2019, under the Constitution, spending power rests with Congress. Without congressional authorization, the Trump administration may not redistribute or withhold appropriated funds. Yet, the Trump administration is doing just that. As for the attitudinal inherency, it is President Trump's attitude towards undocumented immigrants that allows this issue to go on. The Trump administration has never tried to hide the fact that it is against undocumented immigrants and voices their disdain for that community on a regular basis, whether it's via Twitter or via television. On June 16th, 2015, during his campaign, Trump stated, when Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists. Saying these things not only about people from Mexico promotes racism within the country and makes it seem as if it's okay for other people to say these things because someone in his position is able to say it without facing any consequences. On top of that, Donald Trump has fired those in his own administration for not being in agreement with him. Trump fired Acting Attorney General Sally Yates on January 17, 2017, not even 6 months into his presidency. As stated by Nicole Lewis for Washington Post on July 25, 2017, Yates sent a memo to Justice Department employees asking them not to defend Trump's initial travel ban. Yates was later given a hand-delivered letter of his dismissal. To fire people creates an administration built on intimidation, not letting others be heard. This country is run by Trump and only Trump. This is the deficiency in the status quo. Now, finally, I will move on to proposing a possible solution. That solution being returning to previous state. Eliminate H.R. 3003 because it is unjust not only to the state as a whole for being punished for only wanting to protect their citizens, whether they're legal or not, and it is unfair to other citizens who are not even benefiting from the fact that their state is a sanctuary state, yet they are suffering the consequences. Keeping this bill will not force states to go back on their word of being sanctuary states. It will only create anger and more problems for the government. In conclusion, the U.S. government should eliminate H.R. 3003. First, I discussed the harm that this bill causes. Then I discussed who is to blame for this problem. And finally, I presented a possible solution. After all this, there's one thing I want you all to continue to think about. Consider the harm your actions can cause, the people they might hurt, and the irreparable damage that they can do. Because if you don't, things like the No Sanctuary for Criminals Act go into place. Thank you.